Well, the Adelaide Oval case and the Yatna site have been the mainstay for myself and my wingman, Brad Gardam. In 2015, Brad and I went to Stansbury and interviewed Max McIntyre regarding claims from children who were around in 1966 about his involvement in the Beaumont case. So his children making claims about his involvement in the Beaumont case. Max told us he knew a lot about the Beaumont killings, and he pointed to Cambodian-based former South Australian millionaire Tony Monroe as a person he suspected being involved. Max and Monroe had been like father and son until that day of January 26, 1966, and all those years later Max was throwing Monroe under the bus. Monroe, as we now know, has since been convicted of multiple pedophile crimes, including the abuse in 1965 of Max's son, Andrew. Max knew of and ignored the sexual abuse of his own child for Andrew's entire life. I wrote an article off the back of that interview with Max McIntyre, and I interviewed Max for many, many hours until his death, after that in subsequent interviews. Those interviews were recorded with Max's permission, and a very small section of them, there's at least 6 hours worth in total, a very small section of them appeared in a Channel 7 feature article following Max's death. Now, sure, I was paid for that footage. All that money going into the establishment of not-for-profit Missing Persons Foundation, Leave a Light On It, to help hundreds of families of long-term missing persons. And Leave a Light On, established, co-founded by myself and Susie Ratcliffe, obviously Joe's sister. I wrote one article. I followed the court case and supported Andrew and multiple other victims of Tony Monroe who had come to me after writing that article, and then to police to have charges laid. I hired a bounty hunter in Cambodia to keep an eye on Monroe while he was there before he returned to Adelaide, where he was subsequently charged. I made sure it was publicised that Monroe was linked to the Beaumont case. I went to media. I made sure that they knew about Tony Monroe. I made sure his former lover, John Pike, who also turned on Monroe with Max McIntyre, was part of the reason we got onto Monroe. I made sure that John Pike, Streaky Bay local at the time, was known for his child sex crimes, and now he is jailed in Queensland on dozens of charges. I've met Rachel Vaughan, Max McIntyre's daughter, twice. Once briefly following one of those court dates for the victims of Tony Monroe, and once at a child protection rally. I believe I've spoken to her on the phone one other time. I have not, and I have no interest in, writing about her claims. Max admits to having human remains, Aboriginal bones he says, in the sinkhole at Stansbury, a naturally formed hole in the raised cliffs on Crown land for which McIntyres once held a lease for their oyster operations. Max said we could dig the site, just he wanted to know who would be there, as he didn't want everyone seeing bodies pulled out of the ground at Max McIntyre's place. We are aware of a second sinkhole, also not on the McIntyre property, but with McIntyre produced materials reportedly discarded down it. It would be wonderful if the generosity of Cosy Costello, SA media icon, was taken up to dig the sinkhole at Stansbury. I understand Simone McIntyre, who along with her friends told me to back off from the very first time that I went and interviewed Max. I understand that she has given permission for that to happen. Her brother Danny, however, has refused. Now that surprises me, as Danny was present during an extensive interview I conducted with Max, where Max expressed for me to push on with this investigation, even getting Danny to carry bundles of documents to our car. Documents which Simone later suggested that I'd stolen. Permission is not required at Stansbury. Danny and Simone's permission is not required. The sinkhole is on Crown land. There is no current lease over that land, and the natural formation of the land has been already altered. A bulldozer creating a track over the sinkhole some years after it had been filled in the weeks immediately after the Beaumont abduction. Our interest, and around 40,000 signatures on a petition to dig the site, is generated from the very real success and growing evidence against Tony Monroe. He is a person key to the mystery of the Beaumont children, we believe, and the information gained from interviews and insights provided by Max himself suggests that that is the site to look at. Our work at Yatna and on the Adelaide Oval case has also revealed a couple of solid links between the two crimes, something that wasn't really evident a couple of months ago. Sure, like crimes, child abductions, multiple children abducted in Adelaide in around the same era, it does seem like it's obvious that they might be linked. It wasn't so obvious, but now we have made some genuine links between people involved in the Adelaide Oval crime and people we believe involved in the Beaumont case. Now, if the sinkhole adjacent to the McIntyre property is not dug by the time we are done at Yatna, we will move on to Stansbury. We'll go to locations there. It's that straightforward. That site needs to be dug. It can be dug, and it does not need the permissions of anyone to dig that site. So we'll have a look at that. For now, though, thanks for listening in. I'll come back and give you some more updates. We've got a busy week ahead of us. We believe we're getting some more information in next week, which is going to be quite strong and quite interesting. So stay tuned. See you later.